I heard that men also get nose piercings. Should I get one? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Hello guys, welcome back to another video and welcome to the second part of the introduction to Tamil Jewellery Series. Now, I hope you watched the first part of the series where I dealt with ear jewelry except the distended loop part and saving it for a separate installment. Now, for this second part, I will be dealing with jewelry that's worn on the head and the hair. And I've classified the video in the same way. So let me tell you just how the video is laid out and how I defined each category. So the first part is going to be jewelry that's worn on the head. And when I say head, I mean jewelry that's worn on the face and the forehead. And as for jewelry that's worn on the hair, it will exclusively jewelry, that's worn on the hair. Before we move on, I just want to let you guys know about my sources for this video. So my primary source is this book, Arts and Crafts of Tamil Nadu by Nandita Krishna. And I also have the Sculptural Splendor of the Meenakshi Temple. I don't have it on me currently, but I'll link it in the description. There should also be a picture somewhere in this video. And I also have my dear friend from Instagram, Santosh. I will link his page in the description as well. You should go check his story highlights out. They are amazing. And then you also have one of my favorite Facebook pages by Bana Studio. I link their page as well in the description. And let's move on to the video. So for the first part, head, we're going to start at the forehead and work our way down. So the first we have is the Neti chutti. Now Neti in Tamil literally means forehead, and chutti, if I'm right, means small or tiny, and it can also mean mischievous in modern colloquial usage, but I don't know what it originally meant. But moving on, the Neti chutti consists of multiple parts, each with its own name. So I'm gonna first, lay that all out, and we're gonna start with the names of each part. So the Neti chutti, essentially, the most traditional form of it at least, consists of three parts. The first part is the straps. So there are three straps. First goes down the middle part, the second goes on either side of your hairline, and there's a fourth part technically that sits at the center right here. Now each part has its own name. All three straps, they are called the Purapalai. Now you might ask, what does Purapalai mean? In Tamil, the word Puran means a centipede or a millipede, and that's where this word is derived from, because these straps tend to resemble the millipede or any insect from that family. Now, the pendant that sits at the center is called the Toyagam, and there are a range of designs for this. You have the Attige design I mentioned in the last video, or you have a Kundan style Rakodi sort of design at the center. You have swans, you have religious motifs. There are a range of designs, as times change and cultural exchanges happen. Moving on to the next, coming down, we have the nose. All the jewelry in the nose itself is a pretty, extensive vocabulary of, jewelry. Starting off, we have the mooku pottu. So the mooku pottu, I didn't even know it had a name, but it's a very simple stud. It's just one stone that sits on your nostril on either side. Typically, it's on the left side, but either way, you can wear it on both sides. Now, the name mooku pottu is derived from two Tamil words. The first one is mooku, meaning nose in Tamil, and the second word is bottu. Now, the bottu is essentially the Tamil word for bindi, and people usually know it by the name bindi, but in Tamil and every other Indian language has its own variation of it. For example, in Telugu, it's called tilagam, but in Tamil Nadu, we call it pottu. It resembles a dot and it's worn on the nose, hence the name mooku pottu. Now, the general name for nose piercings in Tamil also carries sort of the same pattern, where the Tamil word for nose piercings is mookutti, which again, mooku plus kutti literally means nose piercing. Next up, we have the Baseri mookutti. Now, the Baseri is perhaps the most iconic part and one of my favorite iterations of the mookutti. So, the Baseri, it follows a similar design to the Attige, meaning that there is one stone in the center, and there are stones surrounding the center but on the lower half. These form a sort of a triangle, a sort of a quadrant, I guess I could say. So there are three types of Baseri. One of them you wear on the left side, which is stone studded. One you wear on the right side, which is studded with pearls. Now there is a third form to the Baseri called the Hamsa Baseri. Hamsa meaning swan in Sanskrit, and the Hamsa Baseri is essentially, as the name suggests, shaped like a swan and stone studded, but unlike the original form, it is worn on the right side. Next we have the Bulaku. Now the Bulaku, as I mentioned in the last video, can be a bit confusing to the Rolaka because they do sort of share the same name, probably because their shape is very similar. Now, similar to the Lolaka, the Bulaku is also a sternum type jewelry with a dangler at the bottom. The difference between the Lolaka and the Bulaku, however, is one, the placement. The Lolaka is worn at the helix position of the ear, whereas the Bulaku is worn in the septum. And number two, it is that Lolaka is, you need to pierce your ear for a Lolaka. However, for a Bulaku, it is a sort of press-on type nose ornament, so you don't have to pierce your nose for it. You might be shocked at this, but nose piercings are not indigenous to Tamil. If I'm right, they were brought into India by Muslim invaders in the medieval era. But I suppose the silver lining is that we took something that we liked from them and we just developed on it to a whole dictionary of jewelry. Here's another interesting thing. So I was studying paintings at the Meenakshi Amman temple in Madurai, courtesy of this book. I found out that paintings, the women in the paintings did not wear mukutis. When I say mukutis, I say like nose piercings on the nostrils on either side. However, almost all of them were wearing the Bulaku. So it is my theory that before the Muslims brought nose piercings to, Tamil, I think we probably had Bulakus before that. Before we had pierced nose ornaments. But that's still a theory. It's still a reach, but I'm not really sure. But that's an interesting theory. Moving on, we have the Naat. So the Naat is again a very, very popular form of the nose ring that you see everywhere in India, starting from like the North Indian style that's like the size of your face to the Tamil style, which is fraction of the size. The general size of the Tamil Nadu is just this much, so like 1 centimeter at most, 1 centimeter, maximum 1.5. Beyond that, it doesn't really go that big. And the Naat is, again, it's mostly Kundan style, and it doesn't necessarily have a chain attached. Because in the North Indian style of the Naat, you see that one, they are very big, and two, they are not completely set in stone. There's only the part that has a chain attached to it that's like set in stone or a bit more ornate. And then you have a chain that, or I guess you could call it a martel, that goes back and connects to the hair. But in Tamil jewelry, you have no such thing. The kundan is small enough to be able to support itself on its own. I'm guessing that this Naat came to Tamilagam as a part of a cultural exchange. Probably similar to the Kopu, it probably came to Tamilagam through the Marathas, during the Nayaka era. So we'll be ending off the head category with this final jewelry. It's called the Erukallu Mukuti. Now, the name literally means 7-stone nose piercing. It's called 7-stone because the stud itself consists of 7 stones. 1 stone in the center surrounded by 7 stones in a hexagonal formation. And I've only seen this form of nose stud popularly among people in the higher strata of Tamil society, predominantly higher castes. And I've never really seen it, in other communities, but maybe they do wear it. I just haven't come across it. But yeah, with this, we've finished off the head category and we're going to move off to the next category. Now, Tamil jewelry in the context of hair is a huge range of jewelry, and particularly some of my favorite, because as a child, I may have been a little bit obsessed with Bharatanatyam, which is mainly focused on the jewelry they wore, and that also pertains to their hair. So starting off, we have the Uchit, also known as the Rakodi. So the Uchit is essentially a sort of circular plate that is worn at the top of the head. And as time passed, the Uchit kept moving back and further back in position. So it started off at the top of your head somewhere here, but over time it kept moving until it's directly at the back of your head. That's where it's usually worn right now. And the Rakodi is different because it has two separate, I would say, iterations throughout history. So the first iteration is completely metal, it's pure gold, and it has all of its details and ornamentations are in metal. However, post the arrival of the Kundan style jewelry from, I believe, Western India, say Gujarat, Rajasthan, those area, and the Kundan jewelry that arrived to Tamilagam from them originally, the form of the Rakodi changed drastically. So now you almost exclusively find Rakodis in only this sort of iteration. So the Kundan style jewelry generally comprise of jewels set in stone. They most prominently feature uncut jewels, uncut rubies, uncut diamonds, things of the like, and they almost always have motifs in them. Generally religious motifs, but there are also non-religious motifs as well. The Rakodi is also called Uchit, and again there's an etymology for this as well. You split the word into two. You have the Uchi and the Tattu. Uchi meaning top or peak, and then you have the Tattu meaning quite literally a plate. So it's a plate that you wear on the top of your head. Coming up next, we have the talasama, or as Bharatanatyam dancers call it, headset, and it is almost always seen together with the Neti chutti that we talked about in the last section. So the talasama consists of two certain ornaments. So first you have the Surya Pirai and the Chandra Pirai. Now the Surya Pirai, as the name suggests, resembles the sun, and the Chandra Pirai, as the name suggests, again resembles the moon. Now the root words in both of the names of these ornaments are Sanskrit loan words, Surya and Chandra, sun and moon respectively, but there are also pure Tamil alternatives. The crescent shaped ornament called the Chandra Pirai, the Tamil name for it will be the Ten Pirai, and the sun shaped ornament called the Surya Pirai in pure Tamil would be called the Vada Pirai. Now the names literally mean moon of the south and moon of the north. I believe that Pirai doesn't exactly mean moon, though that's what I've been taught in school. So from this context we can sort of understand that Pirai also means a planetary body. Now these two jewelry do take inspiration heavily from Hindu mythology and how deities in Hinduism are represented, are imagined, and a lot of Hindu deities, you do see them with a sun and moon on either side of their head attached to their crown, or as you call it, Kreedam. And I believe that this is what the inspiration that has been taken into the formation of these jewelries. Next up we have the Juda. So the Juda is something that I didn't know existed, but I found through some research. So the Juda is essentially a ornamental jewelry hairpin. So it's usually worn in a bun, and it is a pin. It's not a piercing, it's a pin. And nor is it a screw-on type thing, it's just like a bun stick essentially, but one that's very ornamental. Now the Juda I found is very similar to the Kondakura. So the Kondakura is a jewelry that's native to Sri Lanka, and again the name bears certain relevance to Tamil. Konda meaning a hair bun and Kura meaning sharp, but the Juda is similar to the Kondakura in terms of application. However, in terms of design, both are very different, meaning that the Kondakura is usually bejeweled, where the Juda, as far as I've seen, is not bejeweled. It's usually a very thin gold plate. So ladies, if you're looking for a hair jewelry that's pretty economical and focuses more on design rather than weight and gold usage and gems, the Juda might be what you're looking for. Finally, we have arrived at the star of the show, which is the jadanagam. So the jadanagam quite literally means braid snake or plait snake, if you use that word. Now both of these words are of Sanskrit origin. Jada essentially means dreadlocks. However, over time in Tamil they took on the meaning of a braid. Now it is called a jadanagam because that's what the jewelry originally represented, a snake. The icon was usually a snake, and also because comparing a long black hair to a snake is also a very popular allegory in poetry and other forms of literature. The jadanagam does have a traditional sort of format, though currently in modern times there have been drastic changes made. But I'm going to stick with traditional because I think it's more interesting. So starting off, we have the sun, moon, you have the tarambu, followed by nagar, and completely you have the jadanagam ending with the kunjam. And I'm going to explain what each of these parts are. Sun and moon are one of my favorite duality motifs, and I have personally like seeing that here as well. Thirdly, you have the tarambu. So the tarambu is a flower of religious significance. If I'm right, the tarambu is especially significant to the Saivite sect of Hinduism. So Saivism, if you were not aware, is a section of Hinduism that has Shiva at the center of its beliefs. And coming back to the jewelry, that's probably why tarampu was such an important part of this jadanagam initially. And moving on, we have the actually no, we have the nagar. How did I forget? So the nagar is supposedly to represent the Ananta or Adisesha, who is the snake that forms a bed that Vishnu is very commonly seen lying on. So you have both Saivite and Vaishnavite representations in this jewelry. So you have the nagar, following which you have the actual jadanagam. So the actual jadanagam goes from the top of the braid to the end of the braid, until the point that it tapers down, ending with the kunjam. So the kunjam is, I want to say, a sort of mix between fake hair and jewelry because it ends with an ornament and these gold encrusted bells or bejeweled bells that end with hair. So this hair can either be like small balls at the end or can be free strands of hair as well. Now, the kunjam also bears striking resemblance to the parandi you see in Punjabi aesthetics. You see the parandi usually very commonly in rural Punjab and Punjabi traditional wear. You see it very commonly used. And I wish to know if these two are connected or how these two are connected, because that does sound like a very interesting, history that I'll get to know about. Now, we will be ending this video with one final jewelry, which is the Tirugupu. So the Tirugupu is used in place of the jadanagam. So if you have a long braid and you are not decorating the jadanagam, the Tirugupu, quite literally meaning flower that you screw in. Tirugu means screw and pu means flower. You have the Tirugupu that you screw in like sections of the braid. Finally, we have come to the end of this video, the end of the second part of the introduction to Tamil Jewellery Series. And the response for the first video has been amazing. I really appreciate all the comments, all the likes, all the shares. Thank you so much. And I have also been receiving a lot of DMs and emails giving me references, images, your own stories, and how you felt about the video. I want you guys to know that I really do appreciate it. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'm going to be linking all my socials and my email ID below. Send me anything that you think will be useful, or you can just send me an DM on Instagram if you want to say something to me. And if you want to add something more, the comment section, please don't hesitate. And I just want to say that I'm excited just as much as y'all are. So thank you for watching, and let's meet next time.